Good morning, everybody. I am Mike at Filmboy24, and it feels wonderful to be back. I've had a busy couple of weeks, but back by not so popular demand, you have me, Filmboy24, and we have a Lomokino episode coming up right now. What exactly is a Lomokino? Well, this is a Lomokino. It's a little toy designed by Lomography to shoot standard 35mm roll film in 36 exposures or anything below, and essentially shoot it as a crank camera mimicking motion picture film. So let me show you how it works. Essentially, you put your film inside the camera. I'm going to show you that in 1 second. You turn this little hand crank on the side clockwise while pointing this tiny little lens at your subject, and you try to roll this at somewhere around 3 to 5 frames per second. Now, at 3 to 5 frames per second, you are going to have somewhere around 28 to 35 seconds of finished movie film. This little guy has 3 f-stop adjustments, or a range of f-stop adjustments, I should say, because you can adjust in between each one as well. It goes from 5.6 to 11. I don't know, Oz goes to 11. I don't know if you can see the little iris in there. I'll try to give you a close-up, but you can actually see the aperture opening and closing as you roll this little wheel in the front. This camera has a goofy little viewfinder on top. I don't know what they call those. Is it parallax or something like that? It's where it's non-reflex, and all it really is sort of a guide. But if you're using this camera, you just need to point the lens towards whatever, because this is not rocket appliances. It has a cold shoe on top. It has a close-up focusing button on the front here. Basically anything farther than about a meter, you'll be in focus regardless, or at least close focus. Anything closer than a meter, but not closer than about a half a meter, or 0.6 meters, you will hold this button down while you film. Now again, you can't take this camera very seriously. There have been people that have tried to put little modified motors on the hand cranks and things like that, which is great. Not for me, but I use it for what it's intended to be used for, and that's fun. And as I'm going to show you in a minute, I have a couple of films that I shot with it right here. And I'm using no gloves because I've already scanned these and I'm not going to scan them again. But as you can see, that is approximately 148 individual frames. That was with a 36 roll exposure of color film. I don't remember how many frames this roll was, but it's shorter. I think it was a 24 exposure. So it is around 115 frames, I believe, somewhere in that range. But I'll show you the clips. They're about 23 and 30 seconds long each. We'll see those in 1 second. So now, let me give you a close-up view of the loading and unloading procedure for this little guy. Okay, let's get started. These are a little bit tricky to load and unload, and I'll show you why in 1 second. And I apologize for the glare. Sometimes the way I turn it, it hits the light. There is a little button on each side of the front face of the camera. You press both buttons at the same time, and you can pop the whole front face of the camera off. Now this is your lens and your gate side. You set it aside. The inside of the camera has your film cartridge side, which is this little reservoir here, and your take-up side, which has the little film spool here. Now the first thing you want to do, your film rewind knob here, which mine does not like to lock in place, the handle. You want to take your rewind knob and you need to pull this out same way you would in a 35mm camera when you're loading your film. Problem is, and I've read a lot of horror stories, a lot of these are very tricky to pop out because they just get stuck for some reason. I don't know if you can see the little pin inside here, but you want that pin out. And as you can see, pulling by the handle, it always makes me nervous because I'm afraid I'm going to break it. But that's what you want. You pop it out. Now, it's not as hard to do when this thing has got no film in it because you can kind of help it in here. You can push it this way. But when you're unloading it and you need to pop that out and pull your cartridge out, you have no help from the inside. Now, once that is done, you will take your film cartridge. Now, I'm just using an old, this is already exposed roll of film that I self-loaded. Pull out a little bit of your leader, and you want it this direction. So you want your emulsion side down when you start and your base up, and you want to let it follow the natural curve. I hope you can see this. Follow the natural curve inside the camera and push it and let it come out on the other side of that roller there, just like so. Now, what I used to do was I used to just push this roll straight down in there and couldn't figure out why my film would not advance properly. Because where your film comes out here needs to be just like this, sitting down inside there, not face down like that. I don't know if you could see that real well, but you want it like this, not face down. So take your roll of film, make it so you can see it, pull this, and there you go. That's the hard part. You push this rewind knob back in till it's flush, pull your film across, and you want to put the leader into the slot on your take-up reel. Again, this is very much like your 35mm camera. It's got the little sprocket pins here for your perforations. You just want to get it started, just like that. Now, your forward advance crank turns clockwise, opposite of your rewind crank, obviously. Once you get this started, roll this handle a couple of times and you'll see it get started. Once you have it to this point, you take the front of your camera and you snap it back on. And we're ready to film. And all you do, this handle has to kind of click into place. There's a point where it's not, like right now, it's not locked in. You want to turn it a little bit, boom, and it clicks in. Now you're filming. Now, to make sure your film is actually catching inside, you want to roll it a couple times and watch the other side, your rewind knob. If it's turning, you know the film inside is turning. Again, just like your 35mm still camera. You take your film, and I only have a couple of feet of film in this cartridge. So we're done filming. Return the handle. This has a film gauge on the side. Don't know if I'd trust it 100%. However, you'll know when it's done because it'll stop cranking. How do we get the film out? Well, the first thing you want to do is rewind your film. So you got to flip your lever open. Now this is counterclockwise. So you want to spin this counterclockwise, and that reels your film back into the, you got to undo your handle, sorry about that, back into the cartridge. And you'll feel it release when you're done. Open the front the same way we did earlier. And your film is back safely, snugly into its cartridge. Now this is the tricky part. Remember how I told you earlier, it's easy, fairly easy to get this thing to pop out when there's no film cartridge in there. But not so easy when there is film in there. The only thing I've been able to figure out is you just got to gently pull hard and wiggle until it pops open. And just, you know, say your best prayers, if that's what you do, that you don't snap that little handle off. I don't know why they made it so difficult, but it is. Take your film out, put the cover back on unless you're loading it with another one. Develop your film as normal, and you will have a whole bunch of tiny little exposures to take to your flatbed scanner or send to Mike over at Film Photography Project and have them scanned and made into a lovely, beautiful motion picture. Oh, we're back. Okay, so now that you're aware of exactly how to load and unload this little guy, let me show you a couple examples. Now, these were done very quickly and without a whole lot of care and attention to exactly what I was doing, so don't take them too seriously, kind of like you don't take me too seriously. Let's start with roll number 1. This is the first roll I ever shot with this thing. Here is roll number 1, 30 seconds of your life. You see what I mean? You're going to get some shake. When you crank this little guy, it's very difficult to keep him stable. See how it moves? There have been people that use tripods. I've tried that as well. Still kind of get some shake into it. You'll see in film number 2 where I actually did try to tripod it a little bit, and you still get a lot of shake. So unless you have super rock steady Superman hands like I don't, expect a little wobble, but that's all the fun. So without any further ado, let's take a look at 23 seconds and roll number 2. And there you have it. That is the Lomokino Super 35 by Lomography in a nutshell. This is me in a nutshell. You know that movie? Just remember, take this for what it is. You're not making feature films with it, and if you are, I want to see them. I really do. I've seen some really, really cool films made with these, so the examples I just showed you, that's just me goofing. But if you try, you know, you can get pretty good results from this thing. But I'd love to see what other people are doing with these things. I know that Mike Rosso over at the Film Photography Project has done a couple of really excellent videos of this little thing. And I believe he also develops and scans Lomokino negatives, which is actually really cool. Now, I did all of my own developing and scanning on the Lomokino. It's not that difficult. It's very time consuming. This was all done on a flatbed scanner, which I'd be happy to share with anyone if you're interested in learning how to do it. It takes some patience, it takes Photoshop, and it takes your favorite editing software. With that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you learned a little something, leave me a comment, let me know. If you have something to learn me, leave me a comment and let me know. Also, don't forget to punch that like button for me, subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell notification so that you're aware each and every time Lomokino Filmboy24 uploads a brand new video. And until next time, I will see you on the next go around.